Hey guys, this is Cole coming to you with my first toolbox tour. My toolbox is a US General 44 inch. It's my first box. I just got into this mechanicing business last August actually, so this is a big leap for me. Tools I have are ones that I've accumulated or generous people have given me. So here we go. Just my workspace, Molly Lube, PV Blaster, brake clean, got brown syrup or gasket maker, 518, pipe sealant, dielectric, that kind of stuff. I got grease, bottles for holding fuel and oil samples, these awesome safety glasses that the shop bought all of us. It's awesome gloves that the shop also bought. Great gloves, but with the cat logo on it, I bet that logo was an extra 20 bucks. I don't know. Anyway, work orders, paperwork, got my paint markers and such. Alright, first drawer. Don't have a whole ton of sockets. This is just bought a set from Sears, Craftsman sockets. These are all Craftsman sockets pretty much. It was one of their larger sets. There's obviously some stuff to fill in, but I'll just take care of that as it comes along. I think these back two are actually not the correct size. This is actually a 30 millimeter. Let's see, is it gonna focus? Maybe. Come on. Nope. It's a 30 millimeter Power Torque, which is just a cheap brand. And then this is another off Craftsman 27 mil. These two right here are not actually what they're supposed to be. This is 1 1/8 and 1 3/16. Anyway, other than that, these are my ratchets. I've got an older Snap-on that I got off eBay. It's 1/2 inch. It's pretty coarse, but I don't know how many teeth it is, but it's pretty coarse. But I like it. This ratchet, and this ratchet are the ones that came with Snap or with the Craftsman set. Wasn't real impressed. Some of the people in the shop have some older Made in USA Craftsman, and I was kind of a fan of that. And when I got these, I was kind of disappointed. I mean, if you take a look at these things, it's not so pronounced on that one, but on the 3/8 especially, you can see the end play in that, and man, it really does make a difference, especially with their sockets and extensions having the same slop, which they kind of do. This is actually one of my favorite ratchets. This is actually a performance tool, which is, it's a cheap ratchet. It's like a $15 ratchet, but it's really fine. Well, not really fine, but it's pretty fine. And it's got this awesome little head on it. I mean, if you can compare that to the Craftsman head, this is significantly smaller. And believe me, it helps a bunch. And it's actually, it might be just as long, but it helps a bunch. This is a Stanley locking flex head ratchet. It's pretty coarse, but it's nice to have the flex. It's nice to have the flex head. Oh, it is an extendable handle too, which is really nice, since I don't have a 3/8 breaker bar yet. 1/4 inch Craftsman, used for a little while. When it gets down to 1/4 inch, the lack of a tight fit between this and a Craftsman extension and a Craftsman socket is so noticeable. In fact, I'll just hook one up for you. Let's see if I can find a Craftsman. There it is, Craftsman 1/4 inch extension. Put that on there, and then I'll just throw a Craftsman 1/4 inch socket. Sorry about that. And you can notice the droop. Yeah, wasn't real impressed with that the first day I was using this. So, put that away later. I went to Napa and got a Carlisle ratchet, Roto, swivel head, and man, I've been impressed. It's really fine. And honestly, not bad for the money. I was really impressed. It's held up well for me. So anyway, these are my various extensions and reducers and wobblies. I mean, they're a mixture of everything from Carlisle, which is Napa, to Performance Tool, to what is this? Power Torque, which is O'Reilly's and cheap brand. Got various extensions. Got a longer. Sorry about that. Got a longer 3/8 extension. I believe it's 12 inches. That's also Power Torque. Anywho, this box right here, gotta kind of haul it out. This box contains my Allen keys and my spark plug sockets and some odds and ends sockets that I don't use very often at all or have room for. Sorry about that. Hand in the way. This down here, just got tape measure, telephone cable for marking hydraulic lines, mirror, I'll get this stuff out of the way as I rattle it off, earplugs, you know, because you got to have one if you're working in a shop, tire pressure gauge. This is actually cool. This, for Christmas, the boss got all of us in the shop flashlights with our names engraved on. Thought it was real cool. My other flashlight, Energizer, it's actually, I'm super impressed with this light. It's kind of hard to turn on, but man, it's bright. And easy to use. Just a ruler for measuring stuff. This is my Craftsman 1/2 inch torque wrench. Yeah, I like having it. It's done me well so far. It doesn't go as high as I need because I actually work in diesel and ag mechanics, so a lot of that is over the capabilities of this torque wrench. Let's see, what does this go up to? This goes up to, I believe, 150 foot-pounds. See if it'll focus. Nope. Anyway, 150 foot-pounds. We do anything up to and past 300 foot-pounds, so that's sadly lacking. I plan on getting a Snap-on 250 foot-pound torque wrench here in the near future, so I'll probably do a review of that when I get it. Anywho, this is my gear wrench 84 tooth flex head 1/2 inch. I use it as a breaker bar. It's at least as long as those Craftsman breaker bars that you can buy, and about 100 times as good. So you can hear it's 84 tooth. It's pretty fine. And man, this has been one of the best purchases that I've made. Don't know how I did without it. Great purchase, and I would recommend it to anybody. Well, as much weight as my recommendation can throw, which isn't much. Pickup magnet. Feeler gauges, not a big enough set, but it's what I got to start with. They're a gear wrench. Gear wrench, come on. It'll focus one of these days, maybe. Nope. Sorry about that. Anyway, my extension. These are my impacts. This is, these are metric right here. These are standard. They are Harbor Freight. And you know what? Honestly, I haven't had too much of a problem with them. I mean, I've hammered on them. I've adapted these things. See, that's a 32 Pittsburgh. I've hooked these things up to 3/4 guns and not had a single problem with them. Granted, I'll probably split one or two along the way. You can see I've been working on a case recently, the orange paint. But for now, they work pretty good. This rail is a gear wrench rail. Man, they're a good rail. And this one down here is actually a Tecton rail. It is a locking rail. You swivel the socket, pull it off, twist it, it doesn't come off. Handy to have. Anyway, this is my, I know I'm kind of bouncing around, this is my metric 1/2 inch, standard 1/2 inch, standard 3/8, metric 3/8, standard quarter, metric quarter. These are 3/8, these are 8-point sockets. This is all I got so far. But this is an example of the gear wrench rail that I was talking about. Very, I like it. They're flexible yet durable. I mean, I'm leaning on that baby. It's not breaking. These are Craftsman, various Craftsman. Sorry, you can't see them very well. Torx and hex or Allen keys. Those I haven't had a problem with, and you know, the fit is still not the best, but you know, what are you gonna do? Craftsman's still, I think, probably the best bang for buck for a beginner. You know, you start with Craftsman, that's a lifetime warranty, and you go from there, I guess. Anyway, next drawer. Man, already at 10 minutes or 11 minutes. Sheesh. Okay, next drawer down. This is all my standard wrenches. Again, Craftsman. I've noticed a coworker has some Craftsman that have bigger heads than this. They're big old honking. I don't know. They're real fat looking. I was able to pick up these, which are actually more the classic look. These aren't made in USA, unfortunately, but you know, I haven't had a problem with them. I got 2 sets. Because here in the next little while, I'm going to be going to John Deere's technical school, and they require 2 sets of wrenches, which I probably would have bought 2 sets anyways. You'd be surprised how often it comes in handy. This is just a random all-trade 1 1/4 wrench, because these only go up to 1 1/8, and I haven't been able to afford the expansions yet. This is just a little ignition wrench set, standard. By the way, these are all standard. I know that this is a blue rack, but it's actually like a it's like a set rack, like you get a set of wrenches in intending to take out, but I modified it so it works well as a wrench rack. These are Hansen. This is a Hansen wrench rack. I really like it. It's reversed. These are my Tecton line wrenches. Don't have room to put them in a holder in here. Haven't had a problem with them. Haven't used them hardly at all. I haven't used them really at all. These are Craftsman ratcheting wrenches that I got in a set with the sockets. These I've enjoyed very much. There's you know, there's not all the sizes, but what I have I've really enjoyed. This is basically the same thing in metric. Again, ignition wrenches, ratchet wrenches, 2 sets of metric wrenches. These, oh, I forgot to mention these Hansen organizers only go up to, or they're short 1 slot for the amount of wrenches that I have in each set. So that's why there's this one random 22mm laying out here. These, by the way, go from 8 to 20, or sorry about that. Not looking through the camera again. 7 through 22. And the standards go from 1/4 inch to 1 1/8. Anyway, next drawer down. This is my pliers drawer. You know, I got one thing to say about these. I don't know what brand they are. They're no name, made in China deal. But man, this is probably something I got for Christmas a few years ago before I even decided I wanted to be a mechanic. Man, seriously, they've held up really well, and I have no complaints. If I could find more of them, I'd buy them. I know they're getting a little rusty, and like I kind of took this one to the wheel the other day, but They rust pretty easy, so you got to keep wire brushing them off. But man, they've held up good. This, I believe, is an Ace. Yeah, that some of these tools actually got given to me by another mechanic who was cleaning out his home box. So a lot of these are from him. Shout out to him, you know who you are. Thank you very much. These, I actually picked up, I think, my grandpa gave them to me when he was cleaning out his garage or something. They're a little 45 degree, they're little bitty pliers, but man, they come in handy. Don't know what brand those are. These are Vice Grips. This Vice Grip has a pair of Needle-Nose pliers at home because I don't like the way they feel as much as I don't like their feel as much as I like these, because these fat handles on the needle nose, they kind of get in the way. Extra pair of dikes. This is Easy Red's Kiwi pliers. You know, I got them and I didn't really think I'd use them that much, but man, they've come in handy, I tell you what. These are just another set of slip joint pliers, channel locks, 2 pair of channel locks, one's Vice Grip and one I don't know the brand. I got these. This is a tubing cutter, and let's see if I can work it with one hand. I have to use the old leg. You just open it up like this. Sorry about that. And it's ratcheting, and man, I tell you what, it is handy. It's really handy. Self-adjusting wire strippers, very handy to have. These channel lock crimpers, which are super handy, love them. Vice Grip, crescent wrench, different crescent wrench, little crescent wrench. Vice Grips, not enough, but it's what I got. Then my Snap-on snap ring pliers that I actually got off eBay, and haven't used much, but what I have, I've liked what I've used. Hang on just 1 second. Got to back up and kick some shop lights on there. Motion sensor. If I stand here with the camera too long, they'll shut off. This is kind of a shop Bible that we've got. It's just got notes and stuff. Extra socket rails. Little microfiber cloths for doing detailing. Extra ignition wrenches. Extra socket holders. Extra socket holders to break any off of those gear wrench rails. This is a locking grease gun tip. This thing is amazing. We almost all of us have them in the shop now, and they just use ball bearings to hold on to the Zerk, so you can just snap it onto the Zerk and just take your hand off and go to pumping. It really helps with those real stubborn Zerks. This is an Inova multimeter, little inexpensive one. Picked it up at a pawn shop for, as you can see, approximately $13. It's worked pretty good. Only used it a few times, but I'll show you why. Move over here for now. This is my screwdriver drawer. Got an impact driver in there. This is Phillips flathead. This is a snap-on screwdriver. I don't know if you can make out the snap-on on that. It's kind of wore off, but I got this for like 50 cents at a pawn shop. Pretty good steal. These are one of my best buys of all time. I had a set of Craftsman picks, and I don't want to bash on Craftsman, but they didn't hold up. I put some pretty hard use on these picks, and when I went to stick this 90 degree in Craftsman under fuel line and kind of twist it off, the hook spun, and I found out after I pulled it out that it's just kind of super glued about ½ inch into the handle. So anyway, I went ahead and bought the Snap-on set, and it hasn't given me any trouble. I really like this set. Anyway, so I got stubbies and small screwdrivers of both sets down here. Kind of a homemade radiator pick. Works pretty good. Made it out of an awl. Oop. Crashing around here. Next drawer is my air tool drawer. This is another awesome eBay buy. This is Ingersoll Rand 231C. Man, if I could get this thing to focus, that'd be great. Doesn't look like it's going to. You guys can kind of see that. Anyway, great air gun. The rest of a lot of the other guys in the shop have a Craftsman gun, and you know they work great. But when I went to buy an air gun, I was gonna try to get something that would last a little longer and put a little more torque down, and it definitely does. I think this one has like 600, close to 6, or better than 600. Anyway, Campbell Hosfield 3/8 ratchet that same gentleman gave me. Husky 3/8 gun. You know, Husky makes a lot of great tools, and I hate to say that this is probably not one of them. It works good when it works. There are times when it'll just freeze up, and you have to fiddle with the switch, and it's kind of a pain. Anyway, probably wouldn't recommend that. I'd say save your money and either get even a Campbell Hosfield, or Hosfeld, or however they pronounce it, or even an IR. I know the 212, I believe, is their little 3/8 gun, or even a Craftsman 3/8 gun. Just save your money and get a little bit better gun. I know it's tempting at like whatever it is, $30 on eBay or whatever. Blowgun, pipe sealant for the air nozzles or air connectors. Extra little blowgun, tools for die grinders. This is just a little cheap no-name angle grinder. Not real impressed with it. I'm probably going to get something like a Campbell Hosfeld. This have had no issues with Campbell Hosfeld die grinder. No issues. You know, air tool oil. Gotta have it. Keep your stuff maintained. This is just like my kind of cleaning and abrasives drawer, I guess. Wire brush, smaller wire brush. These are Pittsburgh scrapers, gasket scrapers, and you know, when I first got them, I wasn't impressed at all with the edge on them, but I took them out to the grinder and ground them up a little bit, and you know, they do pretty good. Good enough to warrant me not getting a Craftsman or Snap-on set. Anyway, bore brushes, cookies. I only have a few cookies right now for the angle grinder. Random box of stuff, and a battery terminal tool. My punch and file drawer. Got a couple of various size punches over here. One's a half round. Got a little round file, chainsaw file. I've got a triangle file that a coworker is borrowing currently. These are just bushings that I used to beat on stuff with. Probably shouldn't, but you know, when you got a bearing that you need to tap in, they really help. These are just different ends for files that go with this handle. This handle is actually pretty cool. You can take it off, and there's different ends for different file styles that you can use. Anyway, brass drift, only got one right now. Should probably get some more. That's kind of limited. These are actually a grip-on roll pin punch set. I saw a they had a good word put in for them by a guy named on YouTube. I think his name is Chris Hulst. Anyway, he has a good toolbox tour. Him and Rig Rocket 53, I believe, are kind of my inspiration for doing this. Oh, and Eric Carguy. Shout out to them. And you know, I haven't used these much at all, but they seem pretty stout. I was kind of surprised. So anyway, I've seen some people give these things some good reviews and some bad reviews, but you know, take everything with a grain of salt. Find out for yourself, and you know, for the money, it's not worth it's worth at least trying out for yourself. They're only like $20, I think, or somewhere around there. Anyway, these are a couple of railroad spikes, and you might laugh, but honestly, they're good soft steel, and they're almost as good as a brass drift if you don't want to
if you don't want to break something. And if you sharpen these claws up a little bit, they make a good deal for driving things apart. They're rather large. Anyway, this is a Tekton punch and chisel set. Worked good for me so far. The set punch, I'm kind of thinking about getting a better one, because I seem to dull the tip on that all the time. This is my gear wrench stud extractor set. Really like these. Used them a few times. Metric and standard. Goodbye. I'm gonna set these up here. Okay. Gear wrench filter wrench, or oil filter strap wrench. You know, it does its job good. I'm probably gonna get a Snap-on just because the Snap-on one does it that much better. Like I said, this does a fine job, but the Snap-on one, instead of having this big U-shaped piece of metal out here, it actually has a slot right through the chuck here. And man, it doesn't take, this takes quite a few rotations to start grabbing. That Snap-on one takes like half a rotation. It's pretty cool. Anyway, keys to my box, extra knife, spark tester, Sharpie marker, various plugs. This is a Craftsman nut driver wrench, or nut driver set. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Kind of a challenge. Especially when I'm right-handed, I'm trying to do all this left-handed. You know how it goes. In fact, I'm going to swap over. There we go. And you know, I actually bought these. I bought not thinking that I wouldn't use them very much, but man, I use these almost every day. For pipe clamps, there's nothing better. And I bought them. Like I said, I bought them. It's kind of a funny thing. I bought a toolbox from Sears, from our local Sears store. The guys in there were real nice, ordered it in for me. Got it home. Turns out it wasn't what I wanted. Brought it back. The box was kind of waterlogged because it was in the back of my pickup down in town, and I got hit by a rainstorm. Felt kind of bad, so I thought I'd just buy something instead of leaving the store empty-handed, and I got these. Anyway, Cobalt bit set, or bit driver set, sorry, and Mitutoyo little 1-inch micrometer that I don't use very much. I'm waiting to get a digital one. What did I forget? Oh yeah, gear wrench. This is just a miscellaneous drawer kind of. It's got my little engraver, extra socket reels. Oh, by the way, these socket trays are grip-on. Gloves, extra sockets, Tums, you know, for when you're having a bad day. Wheat thins, you know, you gotta have food. Teenager, you gotta always have food. Extra sockets. And let's see. Yep, that's as far as I made it. Work provided these great welding gloves. I don't know how to weld yet, but they're great as work gloves, and they're mainly, they bought them for us mainly just for protection. Set of Napa pry bars that gentleman also gave me. Set of Tekton lady slippers. When you first get them, if you do buy them, I would recommend them to you. If you're looking for a budget brand. When you first get them, though, I would take it to the grinder and put a new edge and finish on them, because honestly, when you first get them, this edge right here is not very straight, is what I've found. It's, in fact, it's sharp enough. It's cut so poorly that it could cut your seal or gasket instead of removing it. So I would just take those out, and it doesn't take much. You just take it to the grinder and grind that tip flat, and then grind a new edge on it. And they're actually pretty good. I have no complaints. You know, they're obviously not as nice as a Snap-on set, but they're also not near as expensive. This is a John Deere Draft load sensing shaft. I hope I got that right. But I just use it for beating on stuff. Last drawer. This actually has the most expensive thing in my toolbox right now. Not this. This is my dead blow hammer, or as I call it, my I don't know what I did without it hammer. Little sledge, little ball peen hammer, another little ball peen hammer, rubber mallet, big crescent wrench. I actually bought this at a pawn shop a few months before I went to work as a mechanic, and I just bought it because it was cool, but man, it's turned out pretty handy. 3/8 speed handle, pipe wrench, because you know you gotta have one of those. Sorry about that. Get everything kind of reorganized while the drawer will shut. A little broom, extra can of brake clean. This is actually a Tekton hydraulic wrench set. Haven't had an opportunity to use it very much, but I have a friend who has the Sunex set, and honestly they look exactly like these, and these are like half the price. I think these are $40 a set. This is a standard set. From what I've found, for what I'm going to be doing and what I do, generally don't need the metric set, even though I work, or even though this shop's work is, well, this shop's work is on everything. We do pretty much everything. We're a Zetter and Krona dealer and Branson dealer, which are actually all foreign tractors, but we do everything from Case to Ford, New Holland, John Deere, anything you bring in, we try to fix. Anyway, I would recommend those. They haven't given me or my coworker any problems. We've used them a few times, you know. Haven't used them very much, but anyway, this is what I meant when I said this is probably the most expensive thing in my box, and well, it is for a fact. This is my Fluke 88 multimeter. Comes with all the trimmings and trappings. This I actually got on eBay because the John Deere Tech School almost requires it. They don't straight up require it, but they highly suggest it. So, you know, I take their advice, and I went online for the first time to look at these things, and I'm like, holy cow, $600 for this set? So I just waited it out, and waited for a few months, and this popped up on eBay for $200, and I nabbed it. I've used it a few times, and it works fantastic. I'm super thankful to have it. Super thankful to whoever put it on such a great deal. Anyway, put this back. Again, this is a U.S. General or Harbor Freight 44-inch 13-drawer box. I know I got a lot of junk on top now that I unloaded out of my drawers. I'll put all that back when I'm finished with this video. But this is just the rest of what I have. Little AC Delco stool. You know, I learned pretty quickly that a stool is insanely awesome, especially since you don't have much place else to sit down on a concrete floor. And just this little cart that we have in the shop, and organizing crap, because you know, you gotta stay organized. It's one of my weaknesses, is not to stay organized, and so I'm working on that. Anywho, thank you all for watching. I'll post more videos as I have more material. Thanks, have a good day.